growing up, was it always initially bass for you? Because of course you played bass in Flotsam and Jetsam, you then into Metallica. But did you play guitar that early on, or was guitar and playing guitar something that came later that you developed more?
On my ninth Christmas, I got a Sears Roebuck student model guitar, nylon string. And, I didn't learn how to tune it or put my left hand on it or anything, but I just kind of plucked the strings and I wrote little lyrics down and stuff and made little songs. So I've been doing that for a long freaking time. But about 12 years old, Eddie, probably you and me both, kid brings Dress to Kill to school, right, on the vinyl. And I had one look at that cover, man, and the whole thing, and my world just changed. And it's never been the same since. And I say, can I borrow that record? And he says, as long as you bring it back tomorrow. And I went and played the shit out of it that night. And it changed my whole goddamn deal. So Gene Simmons was that first kind of influence in that way. So it was one of the guitars that has three keys on each side, right? So I pulled the middle keys out. So it just had four. Oh, they're one of my lights. And so there's two strings going down the outside of the neck and two going down the middle, because I wouldn't have known about changing the nut or doing any of that thing, right? So I had four strings on my guitar. So then I went and found the heaviest strings possible and wouldn't even know about gauges or any of that stuff and just strung the thing. So it still sits in my room to this day with four keys on it, one big string sitting on it. So anyway, I wanted to be a bass player. The only lesson, one time I took a lesson, and it was on a bass when I was 14. That was when I was 14 when I got my first bass guitar. And so that was that, and always played bass since that time. And then once we started with the Chop House, we all started swapping instruments. When Jim Martin from Faith No More and some of those other cats would come in, they'd always bring banjos and weird, like steel guitars and stuff. And so we'd swap all those things, and I kind of warmed up to it that way. So I've been playing guitar for that long as well.
That's wild though, man, because you started on guitar, then you're Dressed to Kill, you wanted to be Gene, so you literally take two pegs off the guitar. Right. Why did, right. Like, you're a couple years older than me, but we're right in that same zone. I got Destroyer, and that changed my life as well, and that kind of set me on my path of being a rock nerd. But I'm curious, if you're already playing guitar at that point, was it just the persona of Gene? Because then you could have easily just said, oh, I'm going to be Paul or Ace.
Of course, it was the showmanship, the larger than life, and the spitting fire and stuff, just like any other freaking red-blooded American farm kid,
What was the first? When did you see Kiss live for the first time?
Not until I was an adult, actually. Even though they played, because my family's from Michigan, right, and so they were in Pontiac was the first big thing in Detroit Rock City and the whole vibe, and they were huge in my area, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, Michigan. And was able to get all the swag, of course, and all the things, but never actually saw them live until I was already in Metallica. And I remember I did see them in Kalamazoo, Michigan, for the first time I ever saw them in person. But I also, that was the day I met them. So